Was a big baseball player back in high school. All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is August 28th. Hopefully everyone's feeling well. Look at the disclosure. You guys know the drill. All right. Okay. Here we go. What up? What up? My name is Scott Redler. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Welcome to today's 6:30 Club. I know it's 6:33. I'm a little late, but I'm lucky I'm here. Last night was one of those nights where you go out with the boys, you got to wake up like a man. One of my old bosses said that to me way back in the day when I was in my 20s when we were all going out. But yesterday I was in the city, did a little Fox business. And whenever I go to the city now, I try and coordinate with a bunch of friends to catch up, have dinner, and that's what last night was. So Red Dog got home a little late and I'm feeling it. So anyway, thank goodness for a little iced coffee. So let me say hello to some of my dogs around the world. Looks like you guys are slow also, but only a bunch of you coming in. All right, who do we got? We got Rolandus coming in the house. We have Space Specialist. What up? Dario Dip. What up, Christina? We got Bobby 4.0. We got Scotty Gids. Thank you. It was cool. Taylor was great. Usually I'm on with Liz Clayman. I've been on with her for a decade. And she's away like most people away, and that is why this market is so slow and a little illiquid because most people are on vacation, right? This week coming up, it's Labor Day. People are on the beach or in the Hamptons, and market right now is kind of just like fluttering. Some people say it's digesting, some people say it's stalling. So that's why you always have a bullish, bearish argument. But ultimately, things resolve when they're ready to resolve. So anyway, what's up, Lancaster? Let's take a look here. So yesterday, just for cash flow, I think my best trade was this little trade when SPYs went below 559.05. That was the prior day's low. Made a low of 558.32, reclaimed it, and went up a few points. Sometimes, just little things like that will make you money, and you don't need to be so sophisticated, so complicated. Just a little day in the life of an upper range that's still above the 8-day. We've been up above this 8-day pretty much since 5:30. Remember right here when you had that little 8-day rejection from the August 5th lows, and then right here is when pretty much this is when I would think this active sequence really started. Here was your oversold bounce that turned into a long active sequence that wound up being supported at the 8-day all the way up. So now here we are going sideways, and depending on what happens with NVIDIA today, it will depend on whether or not we get above this 563, 563.91 and test the SPY high of the year. Yesterday you had a red dog reversal also in the Qs. It wasn't a great, huge blockbuster trade, but my best trade yesterday, or second best trade, was when the Qs reclaimed 473.24, which was yesterday's low. It's very simple. It's not a very complicated strategy. If you get below a prior low, in order to continue to the downside, you need to stay below it. If you reclaim that, chances are shorts looking for downside cover, people who might have sold, strength, say, hey, I'm going to buy a little dip. Now I have a new point of reference, and all of a sudden you had a little green day. So either which way, the question is, what happens here? You have a high, lower high. The Qs have been lagging a little bit. The SMHs have been lagging a little bit. So we'll see what happens here. NVIDIA, if you take a look at the chart, which is coming out with the earnings after the close, everyone will talk about it 1,000 times today. The question is, what's going to happen next year? Is it going to get above this 130, 131.16? And if it does, there's really nothing in its way until 136 and then 140.76. So, everyone's like, Red Dog, how are we playing? And what are we doing? And to be honest, the options business or the options lately for me have not really been making much money. Even when you're right, it's hard to make money. But yesterday, while things were lower, I did buy some 130 calls, and I'll see what kind of action happens here today. Do they push this above this? If they did, maybe I'll create a spread and the movement from yesterday being down $1 to up a few to up today will help finance it. So it'll be a low risk option play. And then I'll most likely play it after earnings. If you remember here, we made a lot of money in this play when I remember when NVIDIA opened above this entire range and we were able to buy versus this low. At that point, the low was 101.52. That was a different actually it was that was pre-split, and then you had a nice trend that you had a point of reference to trade against. But everyone loves a little action, so I'm gonna play it responsibly. And then I also, after hours, I put out a cheat sheet yesterday where you could print it out and you could see the expectations, the revenue. You need to know the whisper number. I'm not going to get into all of it now. I think if you go to my Twitter, you'll see it's on there, and take a look. Can I do the IWM chart? Sure. So the IWM is interesting. If you do remember 2 days ago, I was like, guys, do not be buying, the IWM, from where it triggered above 216, where you had this big gap up above 209. It was very extended. And then yesterday, you had your sell strength, a little downside follow through. And now I would say it still probably needs time. 217.71. 217.71 is yesterday's low. So that is your new point of reference. I don't think it's that compelling. We'll see what happens here. It probably could use a little bit of time, to go sideways, let the moving average catch up. I was thinking XBI was getting ready to go, and yesterday they shook the tree a little bit. But it's still, overall, the XBI chart is really good. It's just a matter of, is it going to build a bull flag here and hold above this range and then take out 102 and 103 and see a move to, 105, 111. I'm in some options, and I'm also in actually the ETF, and we'll see how it goes. You now have yesterday's low to trade against. This is 99.87. I'd like to see this go sideways, and then if it were to get above and stay above that, then you could add for momentum. But recently, as soon as you think it's ready to do something, it goes the other way, which is just what's been going. Yeah, Starbucks, Todd D, has been doing great. So this is the XBI. And if you take a quick look at the weekly chart, you'll see also, a little bit of sideways action here. If you go like this, let it hold in this spot, chances are it gets above 103, then you have 111 plus. I think we're going to need to see some takeovers in this area for this to get exciting. But overall, it looks pretty good. Last time it broke out, it had a quick move to the highs. You could say it retested this spot, and now maybe some sideways action, and it goes. My buddy Todd is talking about Starbucks, which I've listed a bunch of times. Starbucks gave you two ways to play it. Remember, actually I have the writing still here. So it is timestamped. I said you could be long versus the 90 gap, right? So right in here, that was when it got a new CEO. You could have been a buyer versus that in tier 1. So maybe you had just say 500 shares sitting, not over trading. And then when it broke above 96, you added another 500 shares. Now you're in tier 2. That's why I talk about a tier system. So tier 1, you're buying versus 90.29. Tier 2, you could have bought maybe right here, or when it got above 96 and it hit a high of 98.72 yesterday. Wow, that was a nice setup trade. Hopefully you guys took that trade and went over it. It's been in my note. It's been in the VTF. This is exactly the language. And look at that trade. Doesn't get much better than that. Sometimes if you buy versus level and it doesn't go yet, you're trying to be cute and it doesn't work. Like a lot of people did that with SMCI, and then the news from Hindenburg came out, but thank goodness they got stopped out the day before. So right here, remember we were talking about you could be long versus 595 or wait for it to break above 632 to add, and all of a sudden it was in this area and it broke 595. So you had to get out of the way before yesterday's news. By the way, they should check the trading sheets of Hindenburg, because I think it's the same thing as Citron, where they'll tell all their friends that they're writing this huge article about the faultiness of SMCI. They're probably shorting it for weeks, and then as soon as the news comes out, the algos pick it up, it gets sold, and look how it came off those lows. But anyway, I don't want to see anyone get in trouble, but it just, I remember I used to play the Citron plays. They would see it. I would think it means something like 10 years ago. And meanwhile, there was fugaziness. What happened to Bitcoin overnight? I'll be honest. I'm long IBIT, and I'm a little upset myself. I've been trying to play Bitcoin, as just a trade, and thank goodness I wasn't here yesterday. Because if I was here yesterday, I probably would have added, saying, "Hey, look at this move. We were long in here. Added, great breakout, sold some, buy the dip, great retest." And all of a sudden now, Bitcoin's off the lows, but down $1.33. And, I added yesterday, but if I would have been here instead of on Fox Business with Taylor, I probably would have added on the close, and thank goodness I wasn't here. So now what? It was lower. I still think it's fine. Look where it was on August 5th into here. Just would have been a little bit more strategic if it would have held here and continued, and would have been a nice, methodical move. And now it's just a little sloppy. But Bitcoin tends to be sloppy. Tesla thoughts. Tesla, the reason why I made money in Tesla and I didn't get stuck is because, remember, 2 days ago, NVIDIA and AMD had a quick move in the first 5 minutes of the day, squeezed out shorts, got people long, and then all of a sudden came in and was weaker the whole day. When Tesla was strong yesterday in the morning, it was up 50 cents or down only 50 cents while everything else was down. It went, and then I made some money, and then I pulled in. I'm like, instead of buying that, pulling that turned into down 4 or 5, I was like, you know what? Maybe the lack of liquidity, they did that to lure people in. And PS, whatever, Tesla itself is also a pain. You had this one move right here from this lower level to 228, lower high. You had this, that was a pretty big down move. Then, a little misdirection. Then yesterday got below 210 and came back above it. But Tesla's been pretty shitty, since December. Yes, there's been some trades. This was probably one of my best trades in June, because you had this nice bull flag. You had this inverted head and shoulders pattern on top of a channel, and wow. Then you had your outside day, another red dog reversal, lower high, gap down after earnings. Couldn't fill this gap. And, although you'd had a little bit of a bounce, it's just, Tesla just is not a leader right now. It's just not a special name. It's a tactical trade based on what the morning futures are doing here and there. That's it. That's what Tesla's. I do think, which is trading pretty well, is Rivian. I am long Rivian. I see a lot of them on the road. People love them. It is a little expensive, but overall, this held this 1296 gap, broke above this mini area, and now it's been going sideways. So I am long Rivian, and if it can get above this 472, and hang here, I would probably add to it. So we'll see. Someone said to me the other day to look at Lucid. Lucid, I see some people love this car too. My brother loves this stock, and my brother's just a really funny investor. But anyway, this came in, it's holding here, and maybe that'll continue. But these are like B, C, D trades. It is what it is. Just finance the damn cars. It is a power play. What's it? They've been war against India the last 2 years, and Dead Roy. Oh, Hindenburg. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go back one more time to NVIDIA. I'm babbling a little bit. It's going to definitely dictate the trade tomorrow and after hours. Overall, the high was 140.76. Again, we're going to have to see what happens here. I am long from yesterday. Like I said, I was going to do a 130, 140 call spread. So far, I'm just long the 130s. I bought them pretty well yesterday when the stock was down, and then we'll see what happens today on whether or not, whether they push it if they were to get it back above 130. If it goes to like 131, 132, I'll probably create a spread and have a little involvement and trade it after hours. If you're thinking it's going to be a catalyst for the sector, someone's like, can I look at ARM? Yeah, this ARM is trying to hold this area. There's probably not as much over noise here, or just as focus. So if you were thinking that Nvidia is going to be good and help the entire sector, then maybe you could buy some options in ARM. Maybe it gets above the 50-day from 188 down to here. But overall, this just like other semis are just not acting special. But you could pick and choose whichever names you want. You don't need to be in a ton of them. But if you think Nvidia is going to be the crowd of trading hard, go to like an Avago, AVGO, or an ARM. I would stay away from AMD. It's a pain in the ass. Scott, I was studying yesterday your H cell setup. Do you use this actively or not as much? Yeah, when so here's so this is guys talking to me. So here Rolando, where's just asked me about the H cell setup. You could Google the H cell setup. That's, if you look right there, that is here's where everyone's asking questions and we're talking. Tesla daily M flip. Then okay. So anyway, the H cell setup is like it says. So someone's saying, like, doesn't this look like a huge H where you have your down move, it came up and now it's going to roll down. So if you think that's the case, then you're short here and then it starts rolling lower. Here was an H cell setup. It came in, it, hit a little resistance. Some guys shorted it in here, and then when it broke below this area, so that is an H cell setup. It looks like a lowercase h. Like here's like this, and then it turns into a lowercase h. So when you're in a downtrend, the H cell setup works great. But right now, I don't, right now we're more of in a longer active sequence, so it doesn't really pay to be looking for the H cell setup. Right now, the question is this sequence from the August 5th lows that is now digesting up here, can it break out above this? There's no H cell setup right here. This is more like, are we going to see an all-time high? Some of the flows and liquidity reports that I'm reading think that we're going to see a new high above this 563, 565 into the first 2 weeks of September, because again, you have a lot of corporate buybacks right now. Most sellers all got stopped out during this move, but we're going to need some kind of catalyst, and maybe it'll be Nvidia today or not. And then you have more inflation reports coming out. You have the jobs, next Friday, and then you have obviously September 18th is the Fed. So but after September 16th, we get into corporate blackouts where they're not allowed to buy their shares back, and then there's less, buy side liquidity. So if the market wants to break out, chances are, if I'm not saying it's going to, if Nvidia is great, it acts and reacts well, you could be seeing a move above this area, and then all of a sudden going into Labor Day weekend, there's another move up, right? And then all of a sudden you get new flows in September, because that's what happens. New monthly flows come in and it continues to push, but we'll see. Anyway, Apple's holding its own. Yeah, I'm long Apple. If you want to take, I'll leave you with Apple. Apple was probably one of my better trades during that August 5th move. Okay, when it came into this area where I was like, hey, this is 198, 199. Here's your retest. We had our retest. It was a great buy, and then it penetrated a lot of resistance areas to tell you that the market might not just be a feeble bounce, which kept me away from shorting the first part and staying long. And now look at this, going sideways, let the 8-day catch up. So, Apple to me is something you could try and be long. The CFO moved positions and it couldn't even go down. So with that being said, I do like Apple. If it gets above 228-ish, then there's 237. And, we'll see what happens here, with NVIDIA and the rest of tech. And with that being said, at 6:51, cheers. I got to jump, and I wish you guys the best. Good luck trading today. Do what you can handle. And just know that every day above ground is a good day. What does that mean? It means, have some gratitude for what you have and work towards what you want. I'll see you guys later.